Title: The Millionaire Farmer Stares in Shock as His Daughter Throws Him Out, Hiding $2 million. Chapter 1: The Mysterious Beginning. From the very first moment, an eerie silence hung over the old farmhouse, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves, stirred by an unseen breeze. Strange shadows flickered across the cracked walls, as if the house itself held secrets desperate to be uncovered. Every creak of the floorboards echoed like a whispered warning, while outside, the distant howl of a lone wolf sent chills down the spine. Something was undeniably wrong, a hidden truth lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to unravel. The air grew thick with anticipation as unexplained lights danced in the darkness, and the townsfolk's hushed rumors spoke of an ancient curse that no one dared to challenge. Each strange occurrence piled upon the last, weaving a tangled web of mystery that pulled the reader deeper into the story, craving to know what sinister forces were at play. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important alert. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button down below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming your way. And since you're here, drop that powerful like that helps me so much with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love meeting every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. If you like stories about farmers, about everyday life on the farm, and want to know what really happens in the daily lives of the biggest farmers in the world, the hidden stories of the richest owners, and the secrets of the farm girls that the media doesn't reveal, check out our virtual book with the most famous and secret stories from the farm. Click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now. Chapter 2: The Shattering Truth. The wind howled louder now. A feral shriek that seemed to echo the chaos brewing inside the farmhouse. Dust motes danced like frightened spirits caught in a fevered light, swirling around the worn wooden beams overhead. Inside, the atmosphere crackled with tension, each heartbeat matching the heavy ticking of the clock on the mantel, counting down to an inevitable eruption. His heart raced. Thomas, the millionaire farmer, stood frozen, staring at his daughter, Lily. Her eyes, usually so full of warmth, now bore a storm of defiance and hurt. "You're not my real father," she shouted, her voice sharp as glass. The words cut through the oppressive silence, leaving Thomas reeling. "What do you mean?" he stammered, the grounding foundation of his life slipping from beneath him. Lily's hands trembled. "You adopted me. You've hidden the truth my whole life." Her voice broke, a dam of emotions surging to the surface. Murmurs rustled from the shadows, neighbors peeking through the cracked window, curiosity pinching their faces in tight expressions. "Why now? After all these years?" Thomas felt the room spin. Panic clawed at his chest. He had always known he was a wealthy man. But this was a blow he had never seen coming. The very earth he stood on felt unsteady. "You've lied to everyone, kept me from knowing who I truly am." Each word dripped with the weight of betrayal. Lily's voice trembled as tears pooled in her eyes, a mix of fury and sorrow. "Lily, please, let's calm down," he urged, stepping forward, desperate to bridge the widening gulf between them. But she backed away, her expression a bitter mixture of pain and resolve. Then, with a sudden flare of energy, she reached into her pocket, pulling out an aged envelope. Its corners were tattered, nodding to a life left in shadows. I found this in the attic, she yelled, holding it aloft like a banner of truth. It's from my mother. My real mother! A deafening silence followed. All eyes darted to the envelope, the unmarked paper now pulsing with an unseen gravity. The neighbors outside held their breath, hearts thudding in their chests. What secrets did it hold? With trembling hands, Lily tore the envelope open, her gaze piercing through the yellowed pages within. She was never just a farm girl. Her voice soared, filled with a rage that shook the walls. She was the daughter of the town's most powerful family. You've stolen everything from me. Thomas's world, once anchored in confidence, shattered into 1,000 jagged pieces. A surge of regret washed over him, mingling with disbelief. No, it can't be. But Lily's eyes burned with fierce determination. All this time, you thought you could protect me by hiding the truth. But the truth doesn't just lie down quietly. It howls. It demands to be seen. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the attic above, as if the house itself reacted to the turmoil below. A shadow appeared at the top of the stairs, a figure silhouetted against the dim light. Thomas's heart dropped. Was it a ghost of the past come to haunt him? Or someone else, a stranger from the darkness? In that moment, everything teetered on the edge of revelation. Secrets hung in the air like thick smoke, suffocating the very breath from everyone present. Thomas felt a tightening in his throat, the fear of losing not just Lily, but who he truly was. The figure stepped forward, and the house groaned as if it too was afraid of what was about to unravel. You thought you could keep this hidden forever? The voice was chillingly familiar. You have no idea what you've brought upon us. The tension crackled more fiercely than ever, and all the lives entwined in that old farmhouse hung in the balance, waiting for the inevitable truth to spill forth. What was lurking just beyond their grasp? And could anyone ever truly outrun their past? Chapter 3: The Unraveling. The figure at the top of the stairs stepped into the dim light, and Thomas felt his heart skip a beat. The silhouette morphed into a woman, her features shadowy yet unmistakable. "Sarah," he breathed, the name spilling from his lips like a broken prayer. The air thickened. "Lily, I'm your mother," Sarah said, her voice steady but thick with emotion. The words landed like a thunderclap, shattering the fragile tension that held the room captive. "No! This is impossible!" Thomas shouted, his voice rising in disbelief. "You're dead!" "I thought I was," she replied, a smirk tugging at her lips, but it felt wrong, like a mask worn too long. "I had to escape. You didn't give me a choice, Thomas. You think you know me? You've only known the ghost of what I really am." The envelope slipped from Lily's fingers, fluttering to the floor. Thomas stared, mouth agape. His knees felt weak. Everything he had built, every assurance he had carried, vanished in an instant. "No." He shook his head as if trying to dislodge the truth from his thoughts. "You're lying. You were a simple farm girl. I saved you." Lily's eyes widened, confusion battling with pain. "You lied to me about our past?" "Your past, Lily?" Sarah stepped forward, her presence dominating the room. "You have so much more in you than he ever let you believe. You're not just a hidden secret. You're a key to power, a key to our family's lost fortune." The word fortune hung heavy in the air. Twisting the knife deeper, Thomas felt a chokehold wrapping around his throat. "You're here for money," he said, voice trembling. "You're using her to get back what you think you lost." "No," Sarah snapped. "I'm here because it's time she knows. Those men out there," she gestured vaguely to the townsfolk, peering through the cracked windows, "they think they can take what belongs to us. They don't realize what I can unleash." Lily stepped back, her eyes darting. "What do you mean? What are you saying?" Before anyone could respond, a strange noise erupted from the attic. A strange, echoing thud. Only this time, it felt different. It wasn't just the house creaking. It was like a heartbeat. Thomas stepped closer to the stairs. "What was that?" he demanded. Sarah chuckled, a chilling sound that sent shivers racing down Thomas's spine. "They're finally awakening." "Who? What are you talking about?" Lily's panic climbed. But Sarah seemed lost in her own world now, her gaze distant. "I thought I could protect you from them, hiding in plain sight. But the curse—" "Stop!" Thomas shouted, desperation clawing at him. "Stop with this madness! You're hurting her!" But Sarah's smile was sly, darkening the room. "You have no idea what you've unleashed, Thomas. The truth is your biggest enemy." A loud crash echoed from above, louder this time, like something breaking free. Shadows flitted across the walls, shapes undulating in the corners of sight. The temperature dropped, and everyone felt it, a bone-chilling dread that turned hearts to ice. In a moment of sheer terror, Lily screamed, "Father!" But before Thomas could even turn to her, the attic door slammed open, and a massive gust blew through the house. Papers flew, windows rattled, and a dark shape rushed down the staircase. Thomas's breathing hitched. Was this what Sarah had feared? But now wouldn't be a moment to question it. The shadows lunged forward, enveloping them in a rush of whispers. "You cannot hide." And just like that, the line between past and present blurred. Everyone in the room stood frozen, fear binding them together, family by blood, enemies by secrets. As the darkness swirled, Thomas realized he had lost control of everything. This fight wasn't just for the truth, it was for survival. But who was the true enemy? And with that terrifying thought, the darkness descended, swallowing their screams. The darkness closed in like a thick fog, wrapping them in an eerie quiet. Shadows swirled, alive, as if they had a mind of their own. Thomas felt a tight knot in his chest. Lily's scream echoed like a knife slicing through the air. His instincts screamed at him to move, but fear held him still. "Lily," he managed to rasp, throat dry, heart racing. But as he stepped toward her, a force pulled him back, like an invisible chain. The shadows pulsed, and the house seemed to breathe with a life of its own. Whispers floated in the air, words barely comprehensible, but thick with malice. Sarah stood frozen at the top of the stairs, her eyes now glinting as if they were made of stone. "You were never supposed to find out," she hissed, anger spilling from her like venom. Lily stumbled backward, confusion and terror battling in her gaze. What is happening?" Her voice trembled. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, a dark wave crashing into Thomas. He gasped as cold fingers brushed his skin. A sensation that clawed at him, pulling him into the chaos. A deafening roar erupted from the attic, drowning out everything else. The walls shook, and a blinding light shot from the door, illuminating the entire room. Then, from the glow, a figure emerged, striking like lightning. Thomas blinked, and his heart stopped. It was a man dressed in tattered clothes, resembling a faded memory of something long forgotten. His face was etched with sorrow and rage, eyes blazing with an otherworldly fire. "Dad?" the figure rasped, voice gravelly, yet echoing with familiarity. "You left me behind." Thomas stared, disbelief making his chest feel like stone. "No, it can't be. I thought—" He staggered back, reeling. The man's resemblance was uncanny. The curve of his jaw, the precise angle of his nose. Lily gasped, eyes darting between her father and the stranger. "Who are you?" "I'm your brother." He stepped forward, shadows swirling around him. "The truth you buried for so long. You thought you could hide it, but I'm here to drag you back to the curse you created." Thomas's mind spun, grappling with the revelation. "I never had a son! I never—" But the weight of the man's presence was suffocating. He believed the horrifying truth, bubbling beneath the surface. "I was abandoned, left to rot while you played house in this wretched place. Now you bring Lily into it? She's not yours to keep from the truth." The anger dripped from his words like poison, each syllable stabbing deeper. Lily turned sharply, confusion wrinkling her brow. "No, you're lying!" But her voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in. "I've watched it all unfold from the shadows," he continued, pointing an accusatory finger. "The deception, the legacy. You thought you could control everything, Dad. But it's unraveling. They're coming. For us." Thomas felt the floor sink beneath him, reality splintering like glass. He glanced at Sarah, searching for answers, but she was lost in her own turmoil, a tempest of emotions. You knew?" he whispered. "Yes," she answered, defeated. "We thought we could keep them safe. But the truth? It was meant to rise. This is not just a family curse. It's a blood debt." The winds howled from outside. Thomas wanted to shout, to deny everything. But he felt the weight of their past, of secrets held too tightly for too long. "How is this even possible?" Lily stammered, the foundation of her world crumbling. "He's right," Thomas finally said, voice shaking under the pressure. "I thought I was protecting you, but I was only hiding the truth." The shadows twisted around them, laughter filling the air, drowning out their desperation. The roar from the attic grew louder, a promise of chaos waiting to break free. In that charged moment, as the house trembled and reality wavered, Thomas stood at the precipice of understanding. One question hung in the air, heavy with despair. What might happen when the entire family tree, roots twisted and buried deep, finally surfaced? Before anyone could answer, a final crash rocked the attic, followed by the sound of splintering wood. And everything, past, present, and future, shattered into darkness. Chapter 4: The Dark Revelation. The darkness pressed in, feelable, suffocating. Shadows danced, flickering around the room like tortured spirits. Thomas stood frozen, heart pounding, as his world unfurled around him. The man claiming to be his son, where had he come from? Why was he here now? It felt as if the walls were closing in, squeezing the breath from his lungs. Suddenly, another crash reverberated from the attic, a terrible sound. It was no longer just the house creaking. It became a wild roar, like a storm unleashed. Papers scattered, flapping and swirling, like a flurry of desperate, struggling birds. In that moment, a figure burst through the attic door, darting toward them. But it wasn't just a body. It was a force, a whirlwind of chaos, darkness, and light, all wrapped up in one. Thomas squinted against the sudden brilliance, blinded just for an instant. When his vision cleared, what he saw made the ground beneath him tremble. Standing there, illuminated in the flickering glow, was an older woman, one that Thomas thought he would never see again. "Margaret!" he gasped, the name escaping him like a whisper of hope lost in a tempest. His first love, the woman he had buried in his past, the mother of the secrets he stole, returned as if sent from hell itself. "Surprise, darling," she replied, her voice a honeyed poison. "Did you really think you could escape the consequences of your sins?" Lily stepped back, fear etched in her young face, weight of the revelation, raw curiosity battling against sheer terror. "I am your mother too," Margaret said, each word smooth yet filled with venom. Her presence sharpened the atmosphere, as if the air became a blade slicing through the chaos. "You've been living a lie." Thomas felt his heart lurch, spinning uncontrollably. "No, it can't be true," he roared, anger and defeat weaving together in his chest, battling fiercely. "You've been gone for years. Gone to protect you from what you never wanted to face." Margaret stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. "But now time has run out, and the truth is clawing its way to the surface." "Clawing like the shadows?" Sarah spat, her bravado cracking as her grip on reality. "Slipped." "What have you done?" Margaret's lips curled into a sly smile, eyes glinting with wicked wisdom. "I've done nothing but watch as the line of curses you've woven drags everyone into the abyss. This isn't just about legacy, Thomas. It's about betrayal." A surge of energy rippled across the room, shadows whispering dark promises, forcing Thomas to his knees. "What are you talking about?" he shouted, each syllable breaking from him like fire, painful yet necessary. "I am the curse," Margaret pronounced, reveling in the chaos she had orchestrated. "And all of you caught in my web. You abandoned me," she said, pointing at Lily. "But your blood continues the legacy. The family legacy. Your brother, he's only the beginning." Lily's eyes widened, tears brimming. "No! You're lying! This can't!" But before she could finish, a cold wind swept through the room, howling with the voices of the damned. Anxiety gripped Thomas. Everything he thought he knew twisted like a knife in his back. The shadows grew, enveloping them all in a tempest of darkness. "Mom?" Lily whispered, voice trembling, yearning for connection, but finding detachment instead. "What do you want?" "I want to show you what you truly are." Margaret hissed, stepping forward. "A force of power, of darkness. You will not escape your blood. None of us can." But as she reached for Lily, something snapped. A brilliant flash erupted within the shadows. A golden light burst forth, illuminating the room. Thomas felt its heat wash over him. The chaotic storm of shadows faltered, caught off guard. But in that sudden stillness, the shadows spoke, merging with the light in a chilling chorus. "You can never outrun what's inside." Thomas's heart raced as the truth unfolded, limbs trembling with the weight of revelation. The darkness flickered, All eyes snapped to Margaret, her expression morphing into something unrecognizable, a truth born of wrath and vengeance. Chaos, desperation clawing at him. All of this has to end. But a smirk plastered Margaret's face, and the shadows swirled tighter, whispering secrets of doom. She had ignited something dark and primal, something that once unleashed could unravel everything, something that could tear the family apart forever. And as the brilliant light fought against the encroaching dark, Thomas realized this was just the beginning of a new nightmare. What awaited them all? What other horrors lay hidden in the dark? The shadows pulsed around them, merging with Margaret's dark energy. Thomas felt as if the very air was being choked by a living nightmare. The tension was unbearable, rising like bile in his throat. "Margaret," he croaked, attempting to reach. Through the chaos. "This isn't you. It can't be." But she just laughed, a sound that felt like ice slicing through him. "You've underestimated me, Thomas. You were never strong enough for this. You should have left the past buried." Lily stood frozen behind him, confusion painted across her face. "You're playing with forces you don't understand," she shouted, her small voice barely rising above the chill. Suddenly the walls breathed. A deep rumble shook the old farmhouse, vibrating through their bones. A sharp crack split the air. Thomas turned to see the ceiling splintering, wood and dust raining down like confetti at a funeral. The shadows danced madly, twisting and howling, as if celebrating the destruction. "Don't look." "Away!" Margaret screeched, her form blurring. "This is just the beginning." With a pure instinct, Thomas lunged toward Lily. He had to protect her, had to shield her from this madness. But as he grabbed her hand, a piercing light erupted from the attic door, a blinding flash that swallowed them whole. The light poured out like warm honey, enveloping everything in golden glow. But with it came noise, a shrill, deafening roar that shattered the moment. Then, as swiftly as it arrived, the light flickered and vanished, leaving only darkness. In that moment, everything shifted. A guttural scream erupted from the shadows, drawing their attention. "No, you can't do this!" The voice was strong, familiar. The darkness coiled back, revealing a face that made Thomas's breath hitch. A figure emerging out of the chaotic shadows, slick with shadows and light. It was Lily, but not like she had ever been before. "Lily?" Thomas choked, eyes widening in disbelief. Her eyes blazed, fiery and wild, illuminating the blackness around her. The girl he knew was gone. "What have you done?" Margaret breathed, the fear breaking through her facade. Lily laughed, a sound sharp and strange. "I've awakened," she screeched. "You thought you could hide it all from me? I've spent years beneath your lies." Thomas's heart fell, confusion mixing with betrayal. "Lily, please, don't!" "Shut up!" she shouted, the walls trembling with her fury. "I'm done hiding in your shadows." With a gesture, a force rippled from Lily, washing over them. Shadows shifted and morphed, coiling around Margaret like a serpent. Her mother was being pulled back, losing power as her daughter's form began to glow, a light piercing through the darkness. "No, this isn't how it's supposed to go." Margaret's voice wavered. Panic etched into her expression as she struggled against her own daughter. "This is the truth," Lily exclaimed, stepping forward. The shadows responded, swirling around her, fusing with her power. "You don't control me anymore. I know who I am now. The air brimmed with energy, tension thick enough to taste. Thomas felt the weight of it all. Power surged, breaking the chains of darkness with raw intensity. Then, something in his daughter's eyes shifted, a glint of recognition. "Father," she said softly, her voice shifting from rage to compassion. "You need to see it too." Before Thomas could respond, the room erupted. The walls shook violently. The shadows writhed, no longer chaotic, but almost alive, thrumming with newfound purpose. A flash of blinding light exploded, and in that moment, he felt something spill from the edges of his mind. A fractured memory, jagged and painful. "Thomas," a voice whispered. Sweet, haunting, familiar. The light tore through the house, revealing a splintered doorway. A place he had long forgotten. "Harriet?" he gasped. Within that light stood his long-lost sister, A. "Ghost of the past," he thought erased. "Everything you've hidden will come to light, brother," she said, stepping forward, the shadows receding. In horror, he realized it wasn't just his daughter who had changed. Everything had shifted. The ground he stood on turned to quicksand, digging deeper with every heartbeat. Thomas gripped Lily's hand tighter, fear gripping him. "What are you saying? What does this all mean?" That as he searched her eyes, the answer slipped just beyond reach, lingering in the blinding light. And with that realization, Thomas faced the truth he never wanted. Could it be that everything he believed was just another layer of shadows, hidden in the light? The light flickered around them, shadows swirling like a living thing, as Thomas's world spun out of control. The warmth of hope clashed violently with the cold fear settling in his chest. "Harriet?" he breathed, disbelief and longing fighting for dominance in his heart. But before he could reach out, the shadows coiled tighter around Margaret, squeezing her like a vice. "Enough!" she roared, her voice a thunderclap ripping through the chaos. The house felt alive with energy, every creak and groan echoing with the fabric of their shattered past. Then, everything changed. A deafening crash reverberated from above, drowning out their voices. An ancient beam fell, splintering the air. Dust billowed, clouds thick as smoke, and an unearthly wail echoed, reverberating through the very marrow of their bones. And then the ground shook. Thomas stumbled, fear gripping him as he pulled Lily closer. "Hold on!" he shouted, panic coursing through him. But what could he hold on to? It felt like the earth beneath them might consume everything he loved. Suddenly, the light shifted again, illuminating a space behind Margaret. It was a mirror, a large, ornate piece, reflecting chaos profoundly. But it wasn't a mere reflection. That's where the truth lay, twisting in the glass like a serpent ready to strike. "Look!" Lily gasped, shaking. Thomas found himself drawn to it, unable to tear his gaze away. Within the mirror, the faces of family, long thought forgotten, danced before him. Faces twisted in anguish, eyes filled with sorrow. There was a shadow of a woman cradling a tiny baby, her expression one of pure despair. "Mom?" he whispered, confusion ripping through him. Lily took a step back, fear etching deeper lines across her youthful face. "What is this?" "Segments of the past," Margaret hissed, her voice trembling as if the weight of their history was suffocating her. You all thought you knew, but it's so much worse. A crack split the mirror, cascading through the air like sharp glass. "What do you mean?" Thomas shouted, almost pleading. "Look closer!" Margaret pressed, desperation creeping into her voice. "Your sister, Harriet, was the key, not just to the curse. She was a vessel." And then it hit him like a blow to the gut. A memory buried deep under layers of denial. An unspoken truth flickered like a candlelight in the wreckage. No, this can't be. The image shifted again. The woman holding the baby, now looking directly at him. Her eyes bore into his soul, pleading, accusing. It wasn't just the child. She was someone he recognized too well. "You did this," he stammered. "You used her." Margaret laughed, a sound chilling and bitter. "You all turned away, thinking it was just a life. But those children, they were never just children. They were lineage, carriers of power." Thomas felt the ground beneath him give way, as if the truth was literally swallowing him whole. The shadows writhed, and in a blink, the surface of the mirror flickered back to a familiar scene. A moment he thought was lost forever. He saw himself in a farmhouse, the same one they all stood in now. Colors faded, curtains fluttering in the breeze. And then there was a younger version of himself, holding little Harriet, her cherubic face glowing with joy. But then, darkness seeped through. A shadow crept into the frame, a dark figure that seemed to draw all warmth from the air. Thomas's breath caught in his throat. That was no coincidence. That's when the curse began. Riley stepped closer to the mirror, trembling. "But if she's the vessel, what does that mean for me?" As if in response, the shadows swelled, a tide of darkness licking at their heels. And then came the laughter, echoing and taunting, 1,000 voices joining in unison. You thought you could escape, but the truth always comes home. Then it shattered. The mirror splintered like glass under pressure, exploding into 1,000,000 pieces that rained down like deadly confetti. In its wake, a terrible darkness poured into the room, a void that sucked every light and warmth away, engulfing them in a chilling embrace. The heat of the past twisted around them, crying out like a lost child. "No!" Thomas screamed, gripping Lily tightly. "We can't let it take us." But it was too late. The shadows surged forward, and in the chaos he felt something sharp, a pang deep in his chest, a memory clawing its way back to the surface. Then everything went black, and as his breath echoed in the silence, a fractured voice whispered, "You will never understand until it breaks you." The darkness closed in, and with it all hope seemed lost. But somewhere in that pitch-black abyss, a question lingered. What was the true cost of their past? And who would pay it? The darkness closed in, enveloping everything in a chilling embrace. The pitch-black air hummed with unspoken secrets, and Thomas's heart raced, pounding against his rib cage like a frightened bird. He squeezed Lily's hand, trying to ground them both amid the chaos, his mind awhirl with fear. Then it happened. An ear-splitting crack echoed. Through the gloom, shaking the very foundation of the farmhouse, something was breaking. Something was coming. Within the swirling shadows, a light flashed, stark and brilliant, and in that moment, the sound transformed from a crack to a catastrophic roar. And then, nothing. Complete silence. They stood suspended in time, frozen in the haze of possibility. Every breath was a held secret, every heartbeat a thunderous echo in the void. Thomas's grip on Lily tightened. Was this the end? Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the quiet. Not a voice he recognized. Low, twisted, and filled with rage. The sound was primal, ripping through the dimness like a knife. And as they turned together, their eyes widened in horror. Emerging from the shadows was a figure, a man, tall and leaming, cloaked in darkness. But there was something about him, some familiarity that clawed at Thomas's psyche. His heart raced. He felt the warmth of blood rushing to his face, a metallic taste flooding his mouth. "Who are you?" Lily shrieked, her voice shaking, panic etched clearly in her wide eyes. "Your worst nightmare," the figure sneered, voice slathered in contempt. As he took a step forward, a sudden flash of memory jolted through Thomas's mind. A childhood carving, an image long buried. "Jason?" Thomas gasped, confusion and horror flooding his senses. "But you're gone. You died." "Did I?" Jason spat, eyes burning with a wronged fury. "You let them think I was dead. You hid me away. All your lies, Thomas. It's time I bring them into the light." Shock slammed into Thomas, stealing his breath. Jason, his long-lost brother, fought to be dead, gone from the earth, but buried deep in the family secrets. But how? Why? "I've been waiting, lurking, building." Jason's lips curled into a mocking smile, twisting his words like a knife. "And now I'm here to reclaim what's mine. You thought you could erase me from history? No one can escape their past." Sounds of whispers swirled like a cyclone, climbing, crashing against the walls. Darkness seemed to pulse with energy, while a cold sweat broke across Thomas's brow. Fear seized him, that tightness wrapping around his throat, choking the words he desperately wanted to scream. "Lily, don't!" But he couldn't finish. Jason moved like a shadow, a darkness flooding toward them, eyes ablaze with vengeance. Lily stepped forward, confusion mixing with defiance. "You're not my brother! You can't be!" "Not your brother?" Jason chuckled darkly, a sound that curdled the blood in Thomas's veins. "I'm the brother you never wanted, but always needed. The one you buried while you played house." With those words, the world shifted again. The shadows reacted, freezing. A jolt of energy surged through the air, sharp and potent, breaking as if time splintered. And then came the shock. The mirror burst back into his view, reflecting everything, every face he had lost, caught in a web of grief. But it wasn't just memories. Within the reflection, he saw them all. His parents lost in silent screams. Harriet, her eyes wide in terror. Even Margaret, horror etched deep into her features. They were not just shadows of the past. They were shadows threatening the present. "Enough!" Thomas roared, stepping protectively in front of Lily, his voice echoing through the void. "You won't take her." But Jason laughed, the sound high and manic.
"You've already lost her, brother.
I'm her true legacy. That's why I'm back, to claim the blood that's rightfully mine." With a flick of his wrist, the shadows retreated, coiling back like a frightened serpent. Thomas felt them pulling at him, attempting to drag him into the abyss. "Willie, stay close," he shouted, fists clenched tight, stomach churning. As the shadows swirled around Jason, amplifying his power, Thomas's heart raced. Did Jason intend to destroy everything? To seize what he believed was his? Then everything exploded. A flash of light, blinding and overwhelming, before it faded into the shimmering fragments of darkness. Lily's horrified gasp echoed in the chaos. "What are you doing to us?" As Jason stood there, a figure of menace amid the chaos, Thomas realized the lengths of betrayal they had all faced. He felt that anchoring pull again, the invisible chains threatening to drag him back into the past. In that moment, everything spun wildly. Would they break free or succumb to the shadows? And then it hit him, a terrifying thought, that perhaps everything Jason had said was true. Could it be that this darkness was just the beginning? The shadows loomed thick around them, a palpable threat pulsating with every heartbeat. Thomas could feel the weight of Jason's rage charging the atmosphere, twisting everything familiar into something grotesque. Their family, their secrets, entangled in webs of lies and betrayal. "Stop!" Thomas shouted, pushing down the panic rising in his throat. "You have no right to come back and disrupt everything." Jason smirked, power radiating from him like a dark cloud. Anger flickered in his eyes, like a match about to ignite a forest fire. "I have every right. You took everything from me. You thought you could just erase me?" Lily's grip on Thomas tightened, her knuckles white with fear. "We can end this," she cried, desperation filling her voice. "We can't let this happen. We need to—" But the ground rumbled, deep, foreboding. A crack split the air, and the room shook violently as shadows swirled around Jason, feeding off his fury. The shadows seemed to breathe, alive and hungry. "What's happening?" Lily gasped, her face paling. "Enough!" Jason bellowed, his voice so loud it echoed like thunder, drowning out the fear. "You had your chance to forget. Now it's time for the truth." Suddenly, Noah, Thomas's long-lost friend and ally, burst through the door, eyes wide, panting. "What's going on?" he yelled, confusion mixing with fear. His presence sent a ripple through the gathering chaos. "Get out!" Thomas shouted. "It's not safe!" But Noah stepped in, determination firm. "I'm not running anymore. This has to stop." Before Jason could respond, a sound cut through the darkness. A shrieking cry that echoed like a banshee. It merged with the howling shadows, an indescribable sound of pain. It was guttural, raw, waking something inside of Thomas, a memory he fought hard to forget. "Mom," Thomas whispered, as horror washed over him. "No!" Jason shouted. "This is not about her. It's about us." Then the air shifted, darkening, thickening, as ethereal, wavering, cloaked in agony. A familiar face, a woman he thought he'd lost forever, materialized. "Thomas," she murmured, voice soft yet haunting. "Rachel?" Thomas gasped, eyes wide, heart hammering in his chest. He stumbled back, disbelief shaking him to the core. The woman he had loved, who had vanished from his life, stood before him. "I tried to save you," she said, tears streaming down her cheeks. "But dark forces had surrounded us. Shock enveloped the room, the air thick with disbelief. "No, this can't be!" Lily cried, confusion blending with fear. She stepped back, glancing between her father and this ghostly figure. "Rachel," Jason growled, eyes narrowing, "you have no place here." "Enough," Rachel said, her voice carrying a power that stilled the chaos. "They need to know the truth." Jason shifted, fury rising as the shadows churned around him, losing stability under Rachel's presence. She stepped forward, heart-wrenching empathy in her gaze. "They belong to the chaos, Jason. It all connects to you. Your power thrust upon the innocent." Thomas felt the floodwaters of despair rising. "What do you mean?" His voice shook as dread gripped him. Rachel's expression became sorrowful. "You need to see all of it, to know the full story." But just as she began to speak, the ground convulsed again. The farmhouse shook violently, as if reality itself threatened to unravel. Jason's face twisted with rage and fear, shadows whipping around him in the storm. "No, I won't let you!" He lunged, but in a flash, everything erupted. A blinding light filled the room, spilling forth from Rachel's form, unraveling the shadows that bound Jason. The clash sent a shockwave through them all. Thomas shielded Lily, heart pounding in his ears. This was it. This was the moment. Then, with a spine-chilling scream, Jason was engulfed by the light, shadows peeling from him like skin. But as the brilliance enveloped the room, something shifted. A dark tear rent through the midst of it all. From within the blinding light, something darker emerged, an entity of pure shadow, swirling and howling like a caged beast. It surged forward, and as it broke free, reality warped. Around them, stretching thin, the air crackled, and Thomas felt his heart freeze. As terror filled the room, a dreadful realization dawned. This shadow wasn't just Jason's exiled past. It was something deeper, something connected to them all. "Run!" Thomas screamed, pulling Lily along as chaos erupted, the very fabric of their lives tearing apart around them. But as they fled, Thomas heard a chilling whisper that echoed far deeper than the physical realm. "You can never escape. The blood binds you to darkness." And with that, as lights dimmed to nothing, they plunged into the uncertainty of the unknown. What had they unleashed, and could they ever hope to regain control over their lives again? As the blinding light encircled Jason, the shadows writhed in agony. Thomas held Lily close, shielding her from the chaos, the echoes of their family's secrets swirling around them like a relentless storm. The house trembled, shaking as if caught in the grip of an ancient curse, and Thomas's heart raced with a primal fear he couldn't shake. "Fight it, Jason!" Thomas shouted over the tumult. "You don't have to be consumed by this." The shadows recoiled slightly, as if considering his words. But Jason's anger roared louder. "You think it's that simple? The blood you spilled, the lives you ruined, it's all connected. I won't let you walk away from your sins." Rachel stepped forward, her aura glowing amidst the chaos, drawing strength from the light. "Jason, listen to me. You are not just a shadow. You can choose to break this cycle." The light flashed brighter, and for a brief moment, Thomas could see the humanity in Jason's eyes, flickering like a dying flame. "You don't understand, Rachel. I have nothing left. My life was stolen." With every pulse of light, the shadows shivered, disintegrating into mist. Thomas felt hope surge within him, urging him to reach out. "We can change this. We all can. Jason, you still have a family. You have us." An unearthly howl erupted as the chaos surged once more, at his very essence, dragging him toward oblivion. But with Lily by his side, he summoned the strength to push against it. "Lily, trust me, stay strong," he yelled. He turned, locking eyes with Rachel. "Together, we can bring him back." Lily's voice rang clear and true. "You don't have to be bound by this darkness, Jason. Come back to us." As they united in unwavering resolve, the light swelled, illuminating every corner of the darkness. A fierce wind swept through, blowing the shadows back into the abyss from which they came. The darkness shrieked, twisting violently, but their combined strength pushed against it, forcing it to retreat. Jason stumbled back, caught between light and shadow. "No, you can't!" But Rachel raised her hands, palming the light like a shield. "You are not your past. You have the power to change everything." With those words, the blinding radiance exploded outward, consuming the darkness entirely. Jason screamed in rage, but it combined with a sound of fragile hope that hung in the air. And just like that, silence. The farmhouse fell still, and for a heartbeat, nothing stirred. Every shiver of fear, every whisper of despair seemed to fade. With a gentle touch, the light softened, revealing moments of healing. Jason fell to his knees, exhaustion etched across his features. "What have I done?" he murmured, a mix of regret and clarity flooding his eyes. "Everything we do defines us." Thomas replied softly, kneeling beside his brother. "It's never too late to choose." Lily looked from Thomas to Jason, tears spilling over. "Can we really move beyond this?" Rachel stepped forward, her presence warm and inviting. "Yes, dear, you are stronger than the shadows that haunt you. Together, you can forge a new path." As dawn broke outside the farmhouse, golden rays filtered through the windows, wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. The fear that had gripped them melted into hope, and for the first time, they were all together, not just by blood, but by choice. "We don't have to face this alone," Thomas said, glancing at Lily and then at Jason. "We'll face whatever comes next as a family." With newfound determination, they held hands, forming a circle that echoed with unity. One by one, the pain of the past began to lift, replaced by the promise of tomorrow. But as they stood together, the woods behind the farmhouse trembled. Deep within the shadows, something still stirred. "What's next?" Lily whispered, voice barely a breath. The air grew thick again, filled with a haunting question. What darkness still lay ahead? But right then, holding each other tightly, they realized they had the strength to face whatever came next. And that was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss any upcoming exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how it all ended. And don't wait another second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to know this conclusion. If you like stories about farmers, about everyday life on the farm, and want to know what really happens in the daily lives of the biggest farmers in the world, the hidden stories of the richest owners, and the secrets of the farm girls that the media doesn't reveal, check out our virtual book with the most famous and secret stories from the farm. Click on the first link in the video comments and get yours now.